Maryland lands 4-star Zymear Smith.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com, and host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. The Maryland Terrapins just landed another huge pickup in the 2025 class as the Terps land 4-star athlete Zymear Smith, a DMV kid, a kid that has a chance to be a special talent at the University of Maryland. And Coach Locksley gets another big time pickup. I cannot state this enough. This is a huge get for Maryland's 2025 class, and it adds to a class that is looking like it's going to be one of the best classes that we have seen under Coach Locksley, and one of Maryland's best classes maybe of all time. And landing Zymear Smith, the 4-star athlete, he's really a kid who I think as a playmaker with the ball in his hands, and I know he's an athlete, he can play both ways, but as just a straight athlete, as a playmaker, this kid is one of the most explosive players in the 2025 class. You're not going to see a lot of players more explosive, more dominant of an athlete than this kid. The way that he moves, his speed, his explosiveness, himself as an athlete, you're not going to see very many guys outside of him be able to do the things that he can do. And he can play a little bit of everywhere. He's going to play maybe some running back. I was just listening to the 247 feed before I got into this, where he was announcing his decision, and he said, I might go both ways. I might play running back. I might play corner. So it sounds like we don't know exactly where we're going to use Zymear yet. I honestly doubt he goes both ways. I'm not a huge advocate of guys going both ways in college. In high school, it's one thing. Most guys go both ways. A lot of guys go both ways in high school, but it's a completely different thing. In college, I just feel like it doesn't allow you to get to your full potential as a player on one side of the ball. And I just think you play too many snaps at times going both ways. And he's a guy that if anyone can do it, it's him. Travis Hunter obviously does it right now for Colorado, but he plays so many snaps, and it's like, yeah, Zymear's a special player, but I don't know if he's quite Travis Hunter. But don't get me wrong, this kid is special. This kid has a chance to come in right away and play, and he's the 5th 5-star rated player that we have gotten. And I think he could be dominant on both sides of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, he's more of a running back. He's listed at 5'11", 170, but don't let his kind of his size get you down on what he is. This kid, I'm telling you, is one of the most dynamic, one of the most explosive players I have seen in that class. And he's a guy that can come in right away. And we lose some of our playmakers over the next couple of years. We lose some of the guys that have been really high-level players, whether it's Roman Hemby, whether it's Caden Prather and Ty Felton. A lot of those guys are gone this year. And I know going into next year, we're going to be looking at guys that can step up, step into some of those roles, step into some of those playmaking roles, and Zymear is going to be able to do that if he ends up on the offensive side of the ball. A scouting report, I like to read these, that 247 put out, says, a dynamic 3-phase playmaker who could feasibly play running back or defensive back at the P4 level, the Power 4 level. So in any of the big-time conferences. Verified at 5'11.5" and a shade under 170 pounds with promising length measurements and above average combine testing metrics prior to his senior season, where he nearly totaled 1,000 total yards on offense, working out of the backfield as a junior, routinely showcasing immense creativity on an open field runner, and does a tremendous job of stacking cuts in limited space to make multiple defenders miss. So That's him as just a running back, over nearly 1,000 total yards. So that's pretty big time for a guy that was playing both ways. For him to be able to total 1,000 yards in high school, not an easy thing to do at all for a guy that was playing corner, a guy that was playing running back. And he also says he's significant value as a receiver out of the backfield, which I think is a big reason why I think I broke up there a little bit for a second, but because of how he can come out of the backfield and be that a versatile type of threat that not only can play running back, can also be receiver. And I said it when I was watching his film. I was like, okay, this guy looks like he's gonna be a really good running back, but we could stick him at receiver and he'd be a pretty good player out there too. So he's a guy that's going to bring us both ways. He's going to be able to play corner if we want him to. He's going to be able to play a running back if we want him to. He's not going to be as much of a receiver as much as he's going to be a receiving back. He's going to be able to make plays out of the passing game, which is so big in college football and so big in today's game. You need guys that can not only make plays running the football, but can also make plays out of the backfield. And that's might be where we see some of his most explosive plays, because he's not going to be able to be guarded by some of these linebackers. He's just too fast, too athletic, too explosive to be guarded by some of these slower types of Big Ten linebackers, who obviously there's going to be some really good ones, but I think that's how good of an athlete he is. He has a chance to have a couple of plays per season where it's like, oh, he just went for a 70-yard screen pass, or, oh, he just took it through the hole, hit another gear. That's a 50-yard run right there. Like, he has that type of explosiveness that he can make like a game-changing types of games in types of plays in different games where you're looking at this kid and you're saying, whoa. And you know what? He's going to be Malik Washington's best friend on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to love having Malik Washington's going to love having a kid like this in Zymear Smith that can run the football, that can be a receiving threat, that can just get easy yards, that can make big time plays. That is going to make the job for Malik Washington so much easier. And another interesting part of him that we haven't talked about is how he was originally committed to Alabama, which I feel good about. The fact that he was committed to Alabama and switched to Maryland makes me feel good about him for a couple of different reasons in about our program. One, it's Alabama. If you're committed to Alabama, you're a pretty high-level player. I don't care where you're ranked. I don't care what your rating is. If Alabama wants you, you're a dude. You're a pretty big time recruit, and you're probably going to end up being a really good player. So the fact that he was originally committed to Bama, and Bama wanted him and had an offer for him, and he was able to commit there, that to me is a pretty big deal. That shows me that he it's not only Maryland that season. It's not just because he's a DMV kid. He was wanted by a lot of different people, and his final three was Penn State, South Carolina, and Maryland after the decommitment from Alabama. And I'm saying thank you that we finally don't lose somebody to Penn State. For a second there, I was like, in my head, I was like, I know everyone's saying he's going to Maryland, but what if he decides to go to Penn State? I'm so glad that he didn't go to Penn State. I've been so tired of these local kids, these local recruits to go to Penn State. Another thing that I'm thinking about with Coach Loxley is that Coach Loxley's a really good recruiter, and he's becoming better and better. Because the fact that we flipped Zymear Smith, for whatever reason he flipped, some people said it's because Alabama was like, he would be on the defense side of the ball, whatever it is. But the fact that we were able to flip Smith from Alabama shows me that Coach Loxley is doing some really big things and some really cool things in recruiting. And that's really cool to see a coach that his high right now and what he's able to do with the recruiting is pretty cool. And so you're watching Coach Loxley able to do some special things with the recruiting. The fact that you can flip someone from Alabama and then beat out South Carolina. I was going to be sick if he committed South Carolina. Maryland fans don't like South Carolina. And then also finally get somebody over Penn State. It feels like we've always been in battle with Penn State, and it seems like a lot of different guys want to go there. And to get into his ranking, if you like, depends on where you look. 247 has them, their composite has them as a 4-star, ranked as the 277th ranked player in the class, the number 10 ranked athlete, and number 7 in the state of Maryland. If you look at some of the other websites, like On3 has them as a 4-star on their rankings. They have them ranked as the 12th ranked athlete. They have them ranked as the 368th ranked nationally in the class. Rivals has them as a 4-star. They have him ranked 7th in Maryland. They have him ranked as the 10th best athlete. So he's a high-ranked player on basically everywhere you look. And hometown Denton, Maryland. So he's a DMV kid. And finally, it feels like we're getting some of the high-level players in the DMV. And I'm looking at this 2025 class, and he has a chance to be the best class Maryland has had in I don't know how long. It has a chance to be a difference-making class, and it's really starting to come together. And I will continue to talk about that after this ad from the Gametime app. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute, like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I've been there before. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find tickets and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. This 2025 class will be, and it might already be, the best class that Coach Locksley has had in his years at Maryland. This 2025 class is special. This 25 class, I think, is clearly going to be his best class, and it's not even done. The way that this class is going, the way that they have recruited within this class is going to be special for Maryland football when you look at it. This class is getting deep. There's a lot of difference-making talent in this group that you look at and you say, it's DMV guys that Coach Locksley was finally able to keep. It's 4-star talent. It's not just like, and I'm not saying anything wrong with some of the 3-star guys. It's not a class full of 3 stars, which I'm not saying is bad. But the fact of the matter is that where you're going to bring this program to the next level is getting some of these 4-star guys. And I'm saying that this class has a shot to be special and be a difference-making class for Maryland football for the next couple of years, as a chance to just take this program to the next level. And it starts with Malik Washington. The fact that Malik Washington's ranked as a top 156th ranked player in the class, top 10 at his position, number 4 in the state, a 4-star player at the quarterback position, and at an extremely important position at the quarterback spot, at 6'4" with a big arm, can do everything, is a dual threat. The fact that Malik Washington headlines the class and you start with a high-level quarterback like that, that's when you know you're probably going in the right direction as talking about Maryland football's recruiting class. The fact that you have a quarterback that is supposed to be the next big thing for Maryland football, that's a really good start to the 2025 class. And so when we landed Malik Washington, I didn't know what to expect. I said it might be a domino effect and we might start landing other guys. And I think that's exactly what has happened. And that was the importance of landing a guy like Malik Washington, is because you could keep getting some of these guys. People are going to want to play with Malik Washington. People are going to look at the Terps a little bit closer when they see, 4-star Malik Washington, one of the best players in that 2025 class, is committed to Maryland. Do I need to start looking a little bit closer at Maryland? And people are going to say, yeah, I probably do need to start looking a little bit closer at Maryland and realizing that they might have something building there, something special. And then the fact that, okay, we have Malik Washington, who 4-star quarterback is going to be a really good player, and he's the most important player in that class, and he headlines that class. But the fact that we have Malik Washington doesn't make it the best class that Coach Locksley has. It's how deep this class is becoming. There are multiple other players, 4-star players, a couple of really highly rated 3-star players that have a chance to make this class complete and make this class what we want it to be. When I look at the running back position specifically, now it looks like we're up to 2 if Zymear Smith wants to play running back. But Iverson Howard was a 4-star on a lot of different websites. He's a 4-star in terms of 247 composite rankings. A lot of people have him as a 4-star running back. And so we already have a guy that's a 4-star running back that has a chance to be a really good player in Iverson Howard. But that's not it. It's like, okay, we get a 4-star running back, and then Bryce Jenkins, who's a 4-star defensive and offensive lineman. You look at it and you say, oh, shoot. So Maryland's also doing it up front. They have another kid in Bryce Jenkins who's a 4-star that has a chance to come in and also be a really good player up front. That's when you start to say, oh, they're doing this the right way. You look at 4-star Malik Washington quarterback, 4-star Iverson Howard at running back, and you look at 4-star Bryce Jenkins on the defensive or offensive line, where I've been saying that's where Maryland needs it. Maryland needs some high-level players among their defensive or offensive line, because that's going to be the difference in the Big Ten. The big boys have offensive lines that are going off to first, second, third round picks in the NFL draft, and it's really hard to compete at that level if you don't get some of those guys. And it's like, oh, they have Bryce Jenkins too in their class, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a really good, solid class. And then it's like, oh my gosh, they just landed 4-star Zymear Smith. This class is special so far with 5 4-stars in the current class, and it has a chance to continue to grow and continue to get better for the Maryland Terrapins. It's a special class. I think it's by far Coach Locksley's best class yet. And there's a bunch of other guys that I haven't even talked about that are going to be really good players in this 2025 class that aren't going to get enough credit yet. But coming down to it later on, they're going to be guys that we know, that we recognize, that are going to be really good players for Maryland football. So I think it's a balanced class. You have a guy up front, you have a quarterback, you have a couple of playmakers, and I'm saying that this is going to be Coach Locksley's best class yet. I think it's fair to say that. I think it's pretty obvious that it's headed towards that direction. With Malik Washington almost alone, it almost makes it his best class yet. And I'd have to go back and really look at the other classes, because I understand kind of where they've been. They've been around the 40th kind of range. And right now, this class is hovering around a top 25 class, which is exactly where I think we want to be. I think we want to be right in that 25, 26, 24, 23. We want to be somewhere around there when we're talking about our recruiting classes. But the fact that we were able to keep a bunch of DMV guys too, all the top 4-stars are DMV guys. Malik Washington, Archbishop Spalding, DMV guy. Zymear Smith, DMV guy. Iverson Howard, DMV guy. Bryce Jenkins, one of the top players in DC, DMV guy. And so I haven't seen us keep this amount of talent at Maryland. And so that's what gets me excited. I think Coach Locksley's been a really good recruiter in getting some guys, but this class is different. This class is deeper. And the thing is, there's still more players to go, which I'm going to talk about in my next segment. But this class, the sky's really the limit. And I think it's by far Coach Locksley's best class yet at the University of Maryland. We keep a bunch of DMV guys. In terms of the rankings, we haven't had a class that's ranked in the top 25 under Coach Locksley yet. And this class definitely has a pretty good shot at doing it. So Coach Locksley, what he's doing right now at Maryland, has a chance of doing something special with this 2025 class. Just how high can this class go? How good can it be? Who else should we be looking at next to want to commit to the University of Maryland? We'll talk about that right now. So this Maryland class, I think, has a chance to reach, I think at its top point, I think it could be hovering around the 20th-ish ranked class, just getting right about inside of that. We have a couple of other people in this 2025 class that if Maryland's able to land, and some of them are projected to go other places, but if Maryland's able to land these couple of guys that I think that they have a good shot at landing, but it's going to take some work because we're not quite there yet. They haven't quite decided to go to Maryland yet. It's going to take some work, but there are a couple of guys that I think Maryland has a good shot at landing, but there's still some work to be done for a couple of other players that can take this class not to just 26, 27, 28, 25-ish, where it probably will end up being to, oh, Maryland has the 20th ranked class or the 19th ranked class. I think that there's a couple of guys that have a chance at doing that for the University of Maryland. And the number one guy is Blake Woodby. The thing right now is Blake looks like he's heavily projected to go to Auburn, but those things can change. They can change. We just saw Zymear Smith flip from Alabama, and he is a DMV guy too. He's St. Francis Academy kid up in Baltimore, Maryland. So he's a DMV prospect as well. And so I'm looking at him and I'm saying, okay, Auburn, yes, good program, SEC, a lot of history at the University of Auburn, probably a lot of NIL money. You play in the SEC. They definitely turn out a lot of guys to the NFL. But can you find a way to get Blake Woodby, who's ranked as the 16th ranked corner, ranked as a high-rated 4-star, 129th ranked nationally, was originally committed to Ohio State? Can you get a kid like that to potentially stay home and instead go to Maryland? Right now, it looks like it's a three-way battle between Oregon, Auburn, and Maryland. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get Blake. I kind of doubt it. It looks like Auburn is the way. But if Maryland wants to reach that sky, to reach that limit, you're going to have to land a guy like Blake. And I'm telling you, if you add Blake Woodby to this class, this already really talented class, and allow this class to potentially elevate to, oh, this class is 20th, 21st, 19th-ish, then this program could potentially be taking a next step if they're able to land a kid like Blake Woodby. But Blake Woodby, I don't even think will be my number one guy that I would want Maryland to land. He's probably my number two in terms of being realistic, in terms of being guys that I want Maryland to land. I think the next guy I look at that I really am looking at, that I really want Maryland to land right now, is Jalen Gilchrist, the offensive lineman, who I think Maryland has a solid chance at. I made a segment about him, but if Maryland can land Jalen Gilchrist, then there's a good shot that this team, Blake Woodby and Jalen Gilchrist, this team has a top 20 ranked class for sure. Might be even higher than that. I want them to just land one. He's announcing on August 3rd. It looks like South Carolina's a favorite, but again, he's from Virginia, a local-ish guy. He's 6'4", 295, ranked third inside offensive lineman, 91st ranked nationally. He's a chance to be something special. Georgia, South Carolina are the other schools that he is right now. He is projected to be, or he did announce that those are the three schools that he's deciding between, Georgia and South Carolina. And if we can land Woodby and Jalen Gilchrist, this class takes just a huge jump up, and we're looking at it and saying, what the heck? This class is special. This class is difference making. This class is why we signed up for Coach Loxley. But even if we land one of them, you're still looking at a really good 2025 class, and that's going to be hard to do. Jalen Gilchrist was like tweeting with Malik Washington saying, should I shock the world, blah, blah, blah. And if he wants to go to South Carolina, so be it. I think he's better fit at Maryland, but this class has a chance to do something special, and it's already a special class. It's already a really high-level class, so we'll just see how it finishes up. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball, so thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.